given us the opportunity to understand and to submit to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has a unique and distinct status among all of the prophets, the last of the prophets, Rasulullah Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His holy progeny, the ones who are the true successors of the prophets, the ones who are the role model for all of humanity in all of time. Imam Masumin alayhi salam took the inspiration, took the role model of the personality of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The people in front of me would be, obviously, this is, we're commemorating the martyrdom of the daughter of the Prophet. It is a very big event, although we are few commemorating this. So I would suggest that all of you make the angels and the daughter of the Prophet believe that we are many. Especially when you recite the salawat, you should put some feelings into it. And if you cannot put feelings into the salawat on the Prophet and his family, you should not say it. Because it is a prayer that you are making to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a prayer without sincerity and without feelings is of no use. So it is important that when we do recite salawat, we should recite it with feeling, with the love that we have for the Holy Prophet and his progeny, and we should show it. And believe me, there are beings that you cannot see whenever there is a majlis, whenever there is commemoration, whenever there is a minbar and people participate. There are beings that we cannot see, but they are among us and they are witnessing. Do not consider that this you and I coming together is just a ritual that we have to do. A lot of difficulties, a lot of hardships, a lot of effort has been put in for us to be together. Right? I flew a few, maybe 100 miles to come to see you. Left my family, my daughter was almost 9 months, being away from them in front of you. The opportunity is to be able to participate in the commemoration of the martyrdom of the daughter of the best of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creations. And we are hoping and we are praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this gathering of ours is going to be accepted, and it is going to become a source for our light in the grave and also in the hereafter. So, the inspiration and the role model for all of the Imam Masumin alayhi salam, and specifically also for Bibi Fatima was the personality of the Prophet. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that in the example of the Prophet is the best example for you. So all of them, they were inspired and they wanted to be like the Prophet. And you have traditions that say, Awwal Muhammad, Awsatuna Muhammad, Akhiruna Muhammad, Kulluna Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So, Bibi Fatima wanted to be like the Prophet. Imam Ali alayhi salam wanted to be like the Prophet. Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, all of the Imam Masumin alayhi salam wanted to be like the Prophet. And they were inspired by him. Inspiration is a need of humanity. We all need to be inspired. When you look inside of yourself, the reason why we're not able to do the things that we want to do, the reason why we are not motivated to do the things that we want to do, the reason why we're not able to do our responsibilities that are on our shoulders, the reason why we feel that we're not getting what is supposed to be from the different events that we participate in, or the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we do, or the money that we give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it is not touching us. You know, it is something that just like you go to work and you come back, you sit down in front of the TV, you know, it's like a mundane life. You go through the circle of life, and before you know it, you're 70, 80 years old, and Hazrat Malakul Maut is standing at your doorstep and saying, let's go. And you kind of feel that, you know, where did the time go? Why did I not do what I was going to do? Why? So many times I made the intentions that I'm going to do such and such, but I was not able to do. So many things, so many goals that I had that I wanted to accomplish, but I was not able to do. How many of us have made the intention that we're going to memorize the Quran? How many of us have made the intention that we're going to learn how to read the Quran? We have individuals who have lived to be 60, 70 years of age in this world who do not know how to read Quran. Why do you think that they are not able to get to that point of accomplishing this goal while they have accomplished so many other goals? Maybe they speak Spanish fluently. Maybe they are in their own field one of the experts that are renowned, and they are publishing, for example, articles, and they are publishing books in that field. But when it comes to the recitation of the Holy Quran, they are not able to read it. How many of us have made the intentions to do such and such, and we haven't been able to do it? Or if you look at the atrocities that are committing around the world, specifically upon the Muslims, and specifically on those individuals who are saying that the path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the path that is the straight path, is the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, are the ones that are persecuted the most. How many times we've seen on the news, you know, a 4-year-old son or a daughter of someone blown up into pieces, and we've heard the mother crying and shouting at the atrocity that has been committed. The tears, sometimes they come through our eyes, sometimes we just go through, okay, ek hafta ho gaya, phir ek aur shahadat ho gaya, ek aur shahadat ho gaya, har hafte kisi na kisi ka sun rahe hain ki shaheed ho gaya. You know, every week we have some sort of news coming from Pakistan or from Iraq that a bomb blast happened and so many people died. Or we have news coming in Afghanistan that the drones went, and in the civilian population they threw bombs and so many civilians have died. We hear all of these news around the world that the kids and women that are innocent are being killed, yet we are not inspired to do anything. We just look at the news, we will discuss it together maybe, and then we go back to our business. The same air-conditioned houses, the same air-conditioned cars, right? Food on our table, all the families, wow. Alhamdulillah. But this Alhamdulillah requires that all praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have you recognized the blessings that I've given to you? And we're not inspired. Inspiration is actually the key in the dark world that we live in, that is required by humanity. Not just us, but all of humanity is looking for that inspiration. In the dark days that we live in, everyone is looking for an inspiration. And they're trying their very best to be inspired by individuals that they're idolizing. But unfortunately, these idols that are there, they're not inspiring humanity. The inspiration from these idols is coming for the animalistic side of individuals, not for humanity. We live in a time of Apple, we live in a time of Samsung, Android, you know, you have Microsoft, you have all of this technology, you have every week new technology coming, and the list goes on. And some of us still have the phones, we cannot get away from them. Even when we are commemorating the martyrdom of the daughter of the Prophet, it is not something that we can let go. That we are plugged in so much, that we need this so much. And we think that by having all of these things, that the technological advancement that human beings have gotten, that human beings should have been inspired. I mean, you have all the sources to be inspired, anytime, anywhere. You have a phone, you have a tablet, you have a smartphone, anywhere you are, 5 minutes, 10 minutes that you have the opportunity to be able to tap into the knowledge that Islam has, the books that are there, the speeches that are there, the du'as that are there. So many things that are there that you can tap into anytime you like and utilize. Yet we see that people are not utilizing it. We see all of that, all of this. What is required is the basic need of all human beings to be inspired by a role model. And the role models that we have, and the best of example that we have, and the example that inspired all the people who went close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So we need to see whether when we commemorate the martyrdom of these personalities, whether we get inspired or not. There's a very big difference between two individuals, one who has been inspired by the daughter of the Prophet and one who has not been. If there are two individuals that are standing together, let's call them twins. Okay? So everything, eyes look the same, nose look the same, everything looks the same. Let's say they have equal amount of money, they have the same car, they have the same house, they have the same everything. But out of the two, one who has been inspired by the daughter of the Prophet would be completely different. Someone who gets inspired by Bibi Fatima is unique. And you can tell the difference between that person and any other person, because the inspiration that comes from the light of Bibi Fatima is something which is unique and you cannot not notice it. We have to ask ourselves the question, and myself too, before we go home from this. How has Bibi Fatima inspired you and I? You believe in Bibi Fatima, you believe that she is the daughter of the Prophet. You have heard all of the fazail of Bibi Fatima, and the fazail of Bibi Fatima are so many that even if you were to spend the 3 weeks that we have the different narrations for the Ayyam Fatima, it's not enough. What the Prophet is saying, Imam Baqir is saying that Bibi Fatima is a secret of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have compared Bibi Fatima with Laylatul Qadr. That it is, what do you understand what Laylatul Qadr is? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا Laylatul Qadr. It is one of the secrets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has hidden that secret. There are seekers who go after this secret. Some of them will reach it, but not to the point where they can say that I have understood Fatima. How are you going to understand Bibi Fatima where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if I did not create Fatima, I would not have created Ali or the Prophet? How can you understand a personality who becomes the reason for the creation of the best of creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet and the successor of the Prophet? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduces the Prophet and his family through Bibi Fatima, that he says that out of the love of Fatima and her father and her husband and her kids, I've created all that there is. How are we to understand the personality, the greatness of Bibi Fatima? Where can you find words that can describe the status of Bibi Fatima? There are none. Does that mean that we stop? That means that we do not strive. That means कि हम कोशिश ना करें. एक ऐसी हस्ती जिसको कभी आप पहचान नहीं सकते, इसका मतलब है कि आप कोशिश ना करें. This is just for us to be able to understand. There are two opinions among the scholars of Islam. One opinion states that you cannot understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, therefore you should not try. One opinion is that ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is impossible for the creation, therefore the creation should not try to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second opinion is that yes, you cannot understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in totality, but that does not mean you should not try. That you should still strive to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although you cannot understand Him in totality. Because the only being that can understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in totality is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for the creation, the only door which is left for understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? The door is to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in partially, not completely. When we try to understand things, we want to understand them in totality. Right? We are not satisfied until we understand something completely. Our curiosity is still there. But this curiosity of ours, or this want of ours to understand something in totality, we have to submit here that we cannot understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in totality. Our curiosity will always be there. In that understanding of partial understanding, the highest level of understanding that anyone had of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the Prophet. Okay? So, just to get this wrapped up in our mind, just to understand, let's say there is 30% of information which is accessible to humanity, knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Out of the 30% of information which is accessible for humanity to be able to get, 100% of that information was acquired by the Prophet. With me? Math में तो आप लोग अच्छे हैं ना? अगर एक चीज है, उस चीज का 30% आपको मिल सकता है. ठीक है? आप हैं जिसने के 30% ले लिया, तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि आपके पास टोटल आ गया ना 100%. Right? You understand? Right? Okay. Let's say there is $100 and I say that $30 can be given to anyone who wishes. But you cannot get 100. So 70 I'm going to keep, but 30 is out for grab. Anybody, whoever wants it can take the $30. Right? Also, I will give even $1. I'll even give 1 cent out of that $30. So the whole $30 is accessible for you to grab, and also you can get 1 cent out of that $30. You can also get 5 cents out of that $30. You can also get nothing out of that $30. Right? Somebody who got the $30 means that they got 100%. Totality, what was accessible for you, you got 100%. Somebody who got $5, how much did they get? You do the math? What? $5 out of 30? How much?
1/6.
You don't have your calculator.
16%.
This is the days that we live in, right? Where we need everything to calculate by a calculator. That's why you have in your smartphones now even tasbih there. You have a counter, you keep on hitting and it tells you 33 times, 34 times. Everything is going to become, we are going to become digital, and one day, even though nowadays there's istikharas that you can do, you just hit the button and it gives you the istikhara. So before you know it, you're just going to have a robot in front of you, and that robot will be able to commemorate the martyrdom of the Prophet or anyone else. And people will come and have a digital Maulana, a hologram, and then everybody will be happy. Right? And we're going to think that humanity has gone now to its peak. Because there's easy access and everybody is comfortable. Right? So $30, if somebody got all $30, somebody got 100%. And then the rest, 1 cent, 5 cents, you can calculate, right? So the 30% of the information of the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is accessible for the creation, the one who got all of the 30 is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now if you think that on top of the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Prophet, and then on the lowest part, considered to be me. Me who have a little bit of the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compared to the ma'rifat that the Prophet had, it's almost like heaven and earth, the distance. You cannot even measure that distance. Right? Now, that example I've given you for the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this also comes in the sense of understanding I'm a Masum. So if we say that in totality I cannot understand Bibi Fatima, that means I should not try. Means because her level is so high, her status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so high, I should not keep her as my role model. Because I will never become like Bibi Fatima. I will never become like Imam Ali. I will never become like Imam Sajjad. Therefore, I should not put them as my role model. Because I cannot become the duplicate of Imam Ali. Therefore, I should not keep Imam as my role model. Wo kahan aur hum kahan. We've gotten ourselves to this particular point. Can I keep Superman as my role model? Muslim, can I keep him as my role model? A lot of the kids have Superman, Spider-Man, right? All of these heroes and characters that are there, kids have them as their role models. You know, even, let's say, LeBron James is one of the role models for a lot of the kids. Kobe Bryant, right? When you look at the role models of the kids, they've got them in NBA, they have them in the music industry, mashallah, they have them, you know, the richest people in the world, they have them in the different other things that they know they will never be able to achieve what these role models of theirs have achieved. Yet, does that stop them? So when you are a child, I said, okay, I want to be like Superman when I grow up. And, you know, I want to be like Superman, so I will have a cape, right? I'll be able to fly wherever I want to go. I don't have to use any tickets or, you know, go through immigration or anything. I can just fly, I can dodge bullets, I will never get sick. All of these things were nice to me, and I'm going to make Superman as my role model. But as I grew, I realized that I cannot be. But as a child, when I could not understand, I put that as my role model. When we talk about Aimam Masumin alayhi salam being our role models, but the way that we project them and the way that we have them in our minds are beings that cannot be duplicated. Therefore, we say that they are our role models, but in our hearts and minds, we're saying that they cannot. I cannot. So because I say I cannot, in reality, Bibi Fatima does not become my role model. Although I'm saying it on my tongue. But in reality, she does not become. Is it between a husband and a wife? And there were issues, so the husband said to the wife, why don't you become like Fatima? And the wife replied, why don't you become like Ali? If you want me to be like Fatima, then you become like Ali. So this thing that we are touching on, it is what is inside of our hearts, and it is what is inside of our mind, but it is not on our tongues. On our tongues, it says, yes, of course, my role model is the Prophet. Of course, my role model is Imam Ali. Of course, my role model is Bibi Fatima. But our mind and heart, they say that I can never be like that. Just like a child who would make Superman as their hero, as their role model, but as they grow up, they might still say, Superman is my hero, but they know they cannot fly, they cannot dodge bullets, they are not man of steel. Right? So what is it that we need to do? Our role model is someone that inspires you. A role model is someone that inspires you to become better. A role model is not someone that you need to duplicate. A role model is someone that you are inspired by. Can you get inspired by the character and the example of Bibi Fatima? You can. Can you get inspiration from her? You can. If you are inspired by anyone, that anyone is your role model. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. That, all of humanity, I have given you the best of example, the example that can inspire all of you. And the beings who are able to get the most inspiration from the character of the Prophet are Imam Masumin. Did Imam Ali ﷺ reach the same status and level as the Prophet? No. But did he reach the closest that any human being can? Yes. Right or no? Did he become the last of the prophets? No. Did he become Rahmatul lil Alamin? No. But was he able to achieve the highest level, the closest level possible to the Prophet? Yes. Did Imam Hassan become like Imam Ali? Did Imam Hussein? All of Imam Masumin took their inspiration from the Prophet, and they got the most inspired in all of humanity. And because they got the most inspired in all of humanity, they were able to achieve the highest levels of success and status with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that even the prophets did not. The level of Imam Masumin is higher than any of the prophets. Any of the Ulul Azm prophets. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam being the highest, and after that you have statuses with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are Imam Masumin and then you have the rest. Right? It is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, laysa kamithlihi shay. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that there is no one that even comes close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is wajib al-wujud and the rest is mumkin al-wujud. He is the only one independent in existence and everyone else is dependent in existence. Right? So it is the inspiration that is required, which is the need and the necessity of human beings, and that inspiration can come from the example of the Prophet, and we all can get inspired. Bibi Fatima can inspire me to become better. If I can only give $100, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she can inspire me to learn Quran. If I can't memorize Quran, she can inspire me to memorize Quran. If I'm not able to pray namaz on time, she can inspire me to pray on time. We have such great personalities as our inspiration, yet we lack of it. Imam Sajjad can inspire you that regardless of all of the difficulties that you have, if the opportunity comes to put a voice against oppression, you should do that. The example of Bibi Zainab can inspire you. Right? So why do we lack inspiration? Because our role models are not them. Why did you get inspired to become an IT professional? Out of the thousands and millions of professions that you could have chosen, why did you become an IT professional? You could have lived anywhere in the world. Why did it inspire you to come here? You could have any sort of wife that you wanted. Why do you have the wife that you have? You could have become any kind of husband, but why are you the husband today as you are? You could have been any kind of mother or any kind of daughter or wife, but why you are what you are right now? Because someone inspired you. And if that someone that inspired you was not Aimam Masumin alayhi salam, then this inspiration is not going to get you anywhere. In a marriage, if a woman is inspired by Bibi Fatima and a man is inspired by Imam Ali, there will be no fights. Why do we have fights? It's because maybe I got inspired by my dad. And maybe my wife got inspired by her mother. And because my dad had fights, and because her mother and father had fights, now we have fights. You see? All of the problems that exist in the world today is because of who inspired someone. What do you think a person who puts bombs on their body blows up his own self, and in the process kills hundreds of innocent people? Who do you think inspired that person? Yeah. The people who inspired that person, this is what the result is. All that human beings do, everything that you do is because you were inspired by something. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that for you to take inspiration is the example of the Prophet, and we see that this example of the Prophet inspired Aimam Masumin alayhi salam to the levels that cannot be achieved by any human being, and to the point where all of humanity can get inspired. आप देखो, अगर आप रसूल को एक सूरज की तरह देख लो और इमाम अली को एक चांद, चांद के पास रोशनी कहां से आती है? सूरज से आती है. If you take the example of the Prophet as the sun and take the example of Imam Ali as the moon, where does the light come in the moon? It comes from the sun. Your flesh is my flesh. لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي. Your blood is my blood. Iman has mixed inside of you as it has mixed inside of me. I will hit on someone who hits you. I will make peace with someone who makes peace with you. Anyone who makes my daughter upset or angry, I will get upset, angry with that person. And all that I, Muhammad salam had, the Prophet is giving nisbat to himself. It is mine. Ana Madinatul Ilm, wa Aliyun Babuha. I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its door. Whoever wants the city should come through the door. So is it possible to be inspired by the Prophet and become a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who says that if I did not create her, I would not have created the Prophet? Even more than that, you know the 12th Imam, his inspiration is Bibi Fatima. Ibn say, Rasulullah lead Uswatun Hasan. In the daughter of the Prophet, for me, is the best of example. Can you imagine a being that can inspire the 12th Imam? The 12th Imam says that my role model is Bibi Fatima Zahra Salam. Can he ever achieve and become like Bibi Fatima Zahra Salam? No. But can he be inspired by her? Yes. Your heaven is under whose feet? Your mother's, right? Somebody said that, and the son went in the house, and the mother was sitting and lifted up the feet of the mother, started looking, and the mother asked, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm trying to find heaven, because I was told that the heaven is under your feet." The level of heaven in which Imam Hussain is going to go is under the feet of Bibi Fatima. Being Sayyidul Shuhada, achieving the status of the leader of all of martyrs, achieving the status in which in his hardship, if you were to cry one tear, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all of your sins. Sacrificing all that he had, the level that he achieved in heaven is under the feet of Allah. And whatever the 12th Imam will come and do, who is going to bring the fruit of the efforts of all of Anbiya, who is going to bring about the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولَهُ بِالْهُدَى وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ, who is going to bring about the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is going to become a reality, is the 12th Imam. And he's saying that I get inspired by Fatima. And we keep this inspiration of Bibi Fatima, we say it is our sisters. No. Bibi Fatima's personality is such that anyone can get inspired. And the ones who don't get inspired is because their hearts are made of stone. Because their sins are so much. Their hearts have become so blackened. Their hearts are filled with so much love of the worldly desires and their lowly desires that they are not able to get inspired by a personality like Bibi Fatima Zahra. Can you imagine the level of patience that Bibi Fatima had? Imam Zaman, who is waiting for the last 1200 years, see how much patience he has. See how much patience he has. That he's waiting for the last 1200 years for the nation of the Prophet to be able to come to that status where he can come and introduce himself. And it has not happened. Where does he get his inspiration for patience? And Bibi Fatima. You know the amount of patience that was required after the event of Ghadir for the people to be in the city of the Prophet. The successor of the Prophet would say salam, and people would not even reply back. You know the amount of patience that was required to go to door. Can you imagine? अभी आपके यहाँ पे डैलस में जितने घर हैं, अगर आपकी माँ निकले घर से बाहर और एक का दरवाजा जाके दस्तक दे और लोगों से कहे कि तुम अपने दीन पे क्यों नहीं अमल कर रहे, कितना मुश्किल है. How difficult it was for Bibi Fatima to go door to door and knock and ask those people, what has happened to you? Have you forgotten? For a being जिसको कि किसी ने देखा ना हो, जिसका पर्दा ऐसा हो, जिसके घर से जब रसूल गुजरे तो सलाम करके गुजरे. When the Prophet used to go from the house of Bibi Fatima, he would stand and say salam. And that being has to come out of the house, go door to door, knock on their doors and say, what has happened to you? Did you not? You forgot. People used to come and say, we forgot. We know that she is seeing me. I know that she can hear me. The actions that we have, if she was alive today, I'm sure she would be knocking on our doors. She would knock on my door. What has happened to you? You call Ali as your master, yet your actions are of his enemies. You say that he is your Mawla. You say that you are his Shia, yet your actions are similar to the enemies. You say that you are submitted to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet your actions are like of a hypocrite. She would knock on my door, and I would not have a reply for her. If we do not have a reply for her, we need to find a reply, because on the Day of Judgment, she will be there asking us this. That what has happened to you? You cried on my son, martyrdom. You cried that his head was cut and put on a spear. You cried on the fact that he was Muslim, he was oppressed. That for 3 days he was thirsty. You cried on the fact that when he came down from Zuljana, that he did not hit the sand of Karbala. You cried on the fact that my son was lying there when Shimr was on top of his chest. When my son had asked, do you not know who I am? And he replied, yes, I do. You are the son of Fatima. You cried on that. You cried on the fact that the daughter of my son, my granddaughter, Sakina, had held the leg of Zuljana and not letting her father go towards the battlefield. You cried that my son came down from the Zuljana and held his daughter in his arms. You cried on the fact that his cries were so loud that the enemies heard. And you cried on the fact that my granddaughter only gave him the permission to go towards the battlefield to be slaughtered so that the religion of Islam can be saved. You cried on that where is the importance of your religion? Why does these difficulties do not inspire you? Do you know that I raised this son of mine with the hardships that I had to go through. Do you know how many blisters I had on my hand? So I can feed these kids. Do you know that when Hussein was born, I was told that he is going to be martyred in the battlefield of Karbala? Do you know, every time I look at Hussein, I remember that day when it is going to happen. Do you know that I was there? I could see my son being left alone. I could see him standing in the sands of Karbala asking if there is anyone who's going to help me. And you cry on the fact that you were not there. You are now here. Why is it that nothing inspires you? Is our difficulties not enough for you to take inspiration from him? क्या हमारे ऊपर और मुसीबतें आती हैं? क्या हमारे छोटे छोटे बच्चों को और तमाचे लगते? क्या हमारी बेटियों को और कैदी बनाया जाता, और जिंदान में रखा जाता? हम अपने इससे ज्यादा और क्या कुर्बान कर सकते थे जो हमने कुर्बान किया? हमारी कुर्बानी आपको क्यों नहीं हिलाती? आपके दिल क्यों नहीं हिलते? आपके अंदर तब्दीली क्यों नहीं आती? Bibi Fatima, we are sorry. I am sorry for the fact that your character has not inspired me to become better. Yeah. I am sorry for those sisters of mine who still lack inspiration for them to wear the dress of Islam, who cry in the fact that Bibi Zainab's chadar was taken, yet they do not wear the dress of Islam. I'm sorry for my brothers who are not able to do the minimum responsibility to at least look like a Muslim. I'm sorry that we have not been inspired, that even the minimum has become the maximum for us. Out of the grace and mercy that you have, of the family that you have, and the heart that you have, we stand in front of you guilty. We ask you to become a means between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to forgive our shortcomings, to forgive our sins, to give us the inspiration that will make us better. You truly are a role model for all of humanity. You truly have the capacity for us to be inspired by you to become the followers and the friends of our Imam. May your son come as soon as possible to fill this earth with justice and peace. May the promise of Allah become completed by him coming. May we be inspired to help the ones who are oppressed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in the levels of the martyrs. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the opportunity to understand their cause. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the opportunity to give in his cause. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of our scholars and our maraji'een. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them long life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the Islamic revolution of Iran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give long life to the leader of Muslimin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect him from all of the enemies that are out there to destroy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroy the enemies of Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala release the prisoners of Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stop the oppression that is going on to the Muslims around the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the coming of our Imam as soon as possible. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curse those individuals who oppressed the Ahlul Bayt. Wa